Dollar General achieves a sustained competitive advantage through cost-focused strategy, targeting low-income and rural communities that are often underserved by traditional retailers. Using Porter's generic strategies, Dollar General does not compete broadly like a major retailer such as Walmart. Instead, it focuses on a narrow segment, cash-strapped consumers who prioritize affordability and convenience over variety or premium quality. A key part of this strategy is location. Dollar General intentionally places stores in smaller, underprivileged communities, often with populations of around 1,000 people, where larger chains avoid entering due to concerns like lower purchasing power, crime rates, or infrastructure limitations. As a result, Dollar General is able to capture demand in areas where competition is limited, effectively filling what some describe as a retail gap. In addition, the company reinforces the strategy through its product offerings. Instead of selling bulk items like traditional supermarkets, Dollar General provides smaller, low-cost versions of everyday essentials, making it easier for customers to afford items on a day-to-day basis without needing to travel long distances. Beyond positioning, Dollar General's success is driven by a strong level of strategic fit, meaning all of its activities align to support its low-cost model. For example, the company keeps costs by operating in areas with relatively cheap rent, employing a small workforce of about 6 to 10 employees per store, and offering a limited selection of around 10,000 products. These decisions reduce overhead costs and allow Dollar General to maintain consistency, low pricing. Overall, this alignment between location, cost structure, and product strategy creates a highly efficient system that reinforces its competitive position.
From an external perspective, Porter's 5 forces help explain why this strategy is effective within the industry. First, buyer power is relatively low, as many customers in these communities have limited transportation and fuel alternatives, making it difficult to switch to other retailers. Second, competitive rivalry is reduced, since Dollar General operates in areas that larger competitors tend to avoid, allowing it to dominate local markets. Third, supplier power is also limited, because Dollar General offers a smaller range of products and purchases in high volumes. This gives the company leverage to negotiate lower prices with major brands, as suppliers compete to be the selected product. However, while 5 forces help us understand the industry environment, it does not
explain Dollar General's success. The resource-based view provides deeper insight by focusing on the company's internal capabilities. Dollar General's data-full store network, cost-efficient operations, and strong supplier relationships are all valuable and difficult to replicate at scale. These resources meet the VRIO criteria, being they're valuable, rare, and well-organized, allowing the company to sustain its competitive advantage over time. That said, this strategy is not without its drawbacks. Dollar General's presence can negatively impact local communities by driving out independent grocery stores, reducing employment opportunities, and limiting access to fresh food. For example, while a local grocery store may employ over 20 people, a Dollar General typically employs fewer than 10. As a result, while the company is highly successful from a business perspective, it may create long-term economic and social challenges in the communities it serves. Overall, Dollar General has built a strong and defensible competitive advantage by aligning a cost-focused strategy with underserved markets. However, the sustainability of this advantage may ultimately depend on how these broader impacts are addressed.
So building our analysis of Dollar General's strategic position, I want to focus on the social and institutional environment in which the company operates and how this both enables and increasingly challenges its competitive advantage. The key idea here is that Dollar General's competitive advantage is socially embedded. It doesn't just come from low cost or operational efficiency, it comes from operating in underserved, low-income communities that are often excluded from mainstream retail systems. First, Dollar General thrives in institutional voids. In many rural towns and low-income urban areas, large retailers like Walmart or full-services grocery stores simply don't enter because the population is too small or not profitable enough. This leaves Dollar General as the only accessible retailer, which gives it a strong positional advantage. Second, its model aligns closely with consumer constraints. Its customers are often cash-contained and cannot afford bulk purchases, even if those are cheaper in the long run. So Dollar General's small package sizes and the low upfront prices.
Third, here's the issue of low mobility. Many of these communities have limited access to transportation, meaning that even if better options exist, they are simply too far away. Dollar General's proximity makes it the most convenient and sometimes the only option. However, this is where the paradox begins. Where Dollar General fills a gap, it doesn't fully solve the underlying problem. In fact, its presence can actually worsen local conditions over time. For example, when Dollar General enters a market, it often takes away demand from independent grocery stores. These stores rely on staple goods to stay profitable, and once they lose that revenue, many are forced to shut down. This reduces access to fresh and healthy food, making food deserts even worse. At the same time, Dollar General creates low-quality employment, few jobs, low wages, and high turnover, and its profits largely leave the local community.
Because of these impacts, the institutional environment is now shifting. We are seeing local governments replacing restrictions on new dollar stores, communities actively blocking new openings, growing public awareness around food deserts and inequality, and even employee protests over working conditions. This reflects a broader shift in social norms and expectations, especially around corporate social responsibilities. So, the implication is that while Dollar General's module is highly effective in the short term, its long-term sustainability is uncertain. Its competitive advantage depends on the very conditions, poverty, limited access, and weak local economies that society is increasingly trying to address. As those institutional pressures increase, Dollar General may face greater regulatory constraints, declining legitimacy, and stronger community resistance. So ultimately, the question is not just whether Dollar General has a competitive advantage, but whether that advantage can survive in a changing social and institutional landscape.
Building on our analysis of Dollar General's strategic and institutional environment, our key insight is that the company is not just filling a gap in underserved communities, it is actually reshaping those local markets in ways that create long-term dependence. Dollar General doesn't simply operate within an existing system. It actively simplifies and restructures the local retail ecosystem to fit its own low-cost business model.
The company typically enters areas where there is weak retail infrastructure, low income, limited transportation, and few alternatives. At first, this creates value. By offering convenient locations and low upfront prices, Dollar General fits the constraints of local consumers and becomes a reliable one-stop shop for basic goods. However, over time, its presence changes the competitive dynamics. As Dollar General captures demand for everyday items, independent grocery stores begin to lose sales, especially on staple products that sustain their business. Eventually, many of those stores are forced to close. This leads to less product variety, reduced access to fresh and healthy foods, and fewer low-quality local jobs.
As a result, communities become increasingly dependent on Dollar General itself. This creates what we can think of as self-reinforcing dependency cycle. Fewer competitors, more reliance on Dollar General, stronger market power, even fewer alternatives. Over time, this creates a kind of lock-in effect where the community has a limited ability to transition to better retail options. So Dollar General's competitive advantage is not just about cost. It's also about its ability to shape the market structure in its favor. But this strategy also creates significant social cost. While Dollar General improves short-term access, it may also worsen food desert, income inequality, and local economic sustainability. From a corporate social responsibility perspective, this raises an important question. Is the company creating value for these communities or extracting value from structural disadvantages? This creates a tension in Dollar General's long-term strategy. The same model that drives its success may also lead to community resistance, negative public perception, and increasing regulatory constraints. So its competitive advantage may become less sustainable over time.
This also opens up a new strategic possibilities. Instead of purely relying on a low-cost model, Dollar General could reposition itself as a more community-oriented retailer by integrating CSR into its value proposition. For example, it could expand fresh and healthy food offerings, support local employment, and create more jobs, invest in community programs such as food drives or nutrition education, and manage store to avoid overcrowding and regulatory backlash. By doing so, Dollar General could move from being a stopgap solution to becoming a more sustainable and socially embedded partner in its communities. Ultimately, this case shows that the firm operating in institutions where do not just adapt to their environment, they shape them. And whether that influence becomes a long-term advantage or long-term risk depends on how they respond to the social and institutional consequences of their own success.
Dollar General has an effective but conflicting strategy. Aligning close with the constraints of underserved communities, this is how Dollar General achieves its advantage compared to other traditional grocery stores. As expectations around access to healthy food, fair employment, and community development continue to rise, the company's current model may face growing limits. In that sense, the future of Dollar General is not just a question of operational efficiency, but strategic adaptation. Whether it can evolve from a low-cost, convenience-driven retailer into a more socially integrated and sustainable business will ultimately determine if its competitive advantage can endure.